What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be discussing some dangling and misplaced modifiers, what they are, some examples of what they are and how they can be corrected, and even a few pictures even there to clarify exactly what I mean by those examples. In order to understand what a dangling modifier is, you have to understand what a modifier is. So a modifier describes, clarifies, or gives more details about a concept. Pretty much acts as an adjective, right? So again, examples of that is greasy, angry, cheerful, adorable, flexible. Um, and why not just have some pictures of, those examples. I personally chose this because I'm a fan of Leonidas from 300. Cheerful, adorable because why not? And you have flexible, right? Now we can understand what a dangling modifier is, which is a word or phrase that modifies a word not clearly stated in a sentence. So examples of that would be, although nearly finished, we left the basketball game to complete our homework, okay? And also, when nice and warm, my son enjoys taking bubble baths. The issues with these are, we don't know, first one, we don't know who's nearly finished between we or the basketball game. The second, we don't know who's nice and warm, my son or the bubble bath. It's just unclear. That's why it says not clearly stated. So how do you go about solving? What you would have to do in a dangling modifiers case is add a subject or place the subject in the correct place. A lot of times with dangling modifiers, there may be times where you may not even get a subject, and you will get things like it, you will get things like stuff like that. You will just have to basically give it a subject in place for it to fix a dangling modifier. In this case, we got to place the correct subject in place basically in order for it to make sense. So the new sentences reads, although the basketball game was nearly finished, we left the game to complete our homework. When the water is nice and warm, my son enjoys taking bubble baths. Makes sense because we understand what was nearly finished, and we also understand that the water needs to be was nice and warm when the son enjoys taking bubble baths. All right, so again, the handshakes to show that the subjects have been modified, and everyone's happy now. All right, so now we're going to discuss some misplaced modifiers. Again, I spoke on this a little bit briefly earlier, simply because this is another subject that is brought up oftentimes when you talk about dangling modifiers. So misplaced modifiers happen when a modifier isn't close to the word or phrase it's trying to modify, basically improperly separated from the word or phrase it's trying to modify. Alright, so what's the difference? The main difference really to understand about the two is misplaced modifiers usually have a subject, but dangling modifiers does not, or it's not clear what this subject is. As we discussed earlier, the sentences basically had two things that the modifier could have been referring to. It was just not easy to tell which one it was. And misplaced modifiers only require you to change where you place your modifiers. But dangling modifiers require a subject or the correct subject to be put in place. This is important because being able to identify what type of modifier it is allows you to correct the issue accordingly. So with that being said, how do you go about fixing them? Pretty much what you just said. Place them in place them near the word it's trying to modify, or place them in the correct place. For example, you have, before, Michael could not ride his bike to work with a broken arm. After, you have, with a broken arm, Michael could not ride his bike to work. Basically, a prime example of what misplaced modifiers does to a sentence, it basically puts it away from the subject that needs to be modified and things like that. So now this sentence is able to write more smoothly and overall makes more sense at the end of the day. So yeah, this is the topic basically, dangling and misplaced modifiers. That's all I have for today, and have a good one.